Welcome to True Crime Memories, where we uncover chilling tales of crime, betrayal, and the dark secrets people try to hide. If you're a fan of captivating true crime stories, you're in the right place. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. To everyone who knew them, Brandon and Lisa Marshall were the perfect couple. They were the kind of pair you'd see on holiday cards: beautiful, successful, and deeply in love. Friends often joked about how they seemed to belong in a romantic movie, with Brandon's quiet, steady demeanor perfectly balancing Lisa's outgoing and vibrant personality. Together, they seemed unstoppable, a power couple destined for greatness. But behind the curated images of happiness and the picture-perfect wedding day lay secrets that would unravel everything they had built, leading to a tragedy no one could have anticipated. Lisa Marshall was the kind of woman who lit up every room she walked into. At 29 years old, she was vibrant, confident, and fiercely independent. Her closest friends described her as someone who always knew how to turn a bad day around. She worked as a real estate agent in Atlanta, a profession she was deeply passionate about. Lisa's charm and warm smile didn't just sell houses. They built lasting relationships with clients who often became her friends. Lisa grew up in a close-knit family, the youngest of 3 siblings. Her father, a retired school teacher, and her mother, a nurse, instilled strong values of honesty, kindness, and resilience. From a young age, Lisa's family knew she was a go-getter. She excelled in school, graduated with honors, and quickly made a name for herself in Atlanta's competitive real estate market. Her life seemed to be on an upward trajectory. At 32, Brandon was a financial consultant known for his calm and composed demeanor. His childhood was far less idyllic than Lisa's. Raised in a conservative household in Alabama, Brandon always felt the weight of expectation on his shoulders. His father, a strict pastor, demanded perfection in all areas of life. Brandon learned early on to suppress parts of himself that didn't align with his family's rigid values. Brandon's professional life was a different story. In Atlanta, he had carved out a successful career, earning respect and admiration in his field. To his colleagues, Brandon was disciplined and hardworking, a man who seemed to have it all together. But beneath the surface, he carried a heavy secret. He had been struggling with his sexuality for years, a struggle he kept hidden from everyone, including himself. The couple's paths crossed at a mutual friend's party 2 years before their wedding. Lisa was instantly drawn to Brandon's quiet confidence, while Brandon admired Lisa's energy and zest for life. Their connection was undeniable, and what started as casual conversations turned into late-night phone calls and eventually a relationship. For Lisa, Brandon represented stability and a partner who balanced her outgoing nature. For Brandon, Lisa was everything society told him he should want: beautiful, accomplished, and deeply loving. Their relationship progressed quickly. Within a year, Brandon proposed to Lisa during a romantic getaway to Savannah. Friends and family were thrilled. The wedding was a grand affair held at a historic mansion in Atlanta. Lisa wore a stunning lace gown, and Brandon, ever the picture of composure, couldn't hide his pride as they exchanged vows. Guests remarked on how perfect they seemed, but no one could have guessed that Brandon was suppressing a side of himself that he feared would destroy everything. The honeymoon phase was nothing short of magical. Pictures of their trip to the Amalfi Coast adorned Lisa's Instagram, showcasing their idyllic new life as husband and wife. Morning coffee on sunlit terraces, laughter-filled boat rides, and intimate candlelit dinners, they appeared to have it all. Yet, even amid the beauty of the Italian coast, Brandon sometimes seemed distant. Lisa chalked it up to exhaustion from wedding planning and the whirlwind of their romance. Upon returning to Atlanta, the couple settled into a routine. Lisa threw herself into work, excited to share her successes with Brandon each evening. Brandon, meanwhile, began working longer hours at his firm. He claimed he was chasing a promotion, but in reality, he used work as an escape from the growing unease in his heart. He felt trapped, not by Lisa's love, but by the life he had constructed to mask his true self. Lisa noticed the cracks before Brandon did. It started small. His hesitation to make eye contact during conversations, his refusal to join her for Sunday brunches with friends, and his irritability when she tried to plan romantic getaways. Lisa's friends assured her it was just a phase. All men get like this after the wedding, Erica joked. But Lisa wasn't so sure. 4 months into their marriage, Lisa began to notice Brandon's increasingly secretive behavior. He would spend hours locked in his home office, emerging only to eat or sleep. His phone was always on silent, and he guarded it like a secret treasure. One evening, Lisa caught a glimpse of his screen and noticed a notification from a name she didn't recognize. When she asked about it, Brandon dismissed her concerns, claiming it was a coworker. Lisa's unease grew. She started piecing together subtle clues: Brandon's late nights, his frequent out-of-town trips for work conferences, and his lack of interest in physical intimacy. Her once confident personality began to waver, replaced by anxiety and self-doubt. She confided in Erica, who suggested she confront Brandon directly. But Lisa hesitated. She loved him deeply and wanted to believe his excuses. Brandon's internal conflict was a storm he could no longer contain. Growing up, he had been taught that being anything other than straight was a sin, an unforgivable deviation from God's plan. He tried to pray the feelings away, to bury them under the guise of a perfect marriage. But the more he suppressed his true self, the more it demanded to be heard. Brandon began seeking solace online, joining anonymous forums where he could express his feelings without fear of judgment. He connected with men who shared similar stories, men who understood the suffocating weight of living a double life. These connections, though fleeting, gave him a sense of freedom he had never known, but they also deepened his guilt. Each time he returned home to Lisa, he felt like a fraud. One evening, Brandon met a man named Marcus through an app. Marcus was confident and unapologetically himself, everything Brandon wished he could be. Their conversations quickly turned from casual to intimate. For the first time, Brandon allowed himself to explore his feelings openly. But with each step he took toward self-acceptance, he moved further away from Lisa. The turning point came on a rainy Friday evening. Brandon had told Lisa he would be working late, but something about his tone didn't sit right with her. As she tidied up their bedroom, she accidentally knocked over Brandon's second work bag. Papers and pens spilled out, along with his small phone, which he had mistakenly left at home. The screen lit up, displaying a message preview that made Lisa's heart stop. It was an explicit text exchange between Brandon and another man. Lisa's hands trembled as she unlocked the phone using the passcode she had memorized months ago. What she found confirmed her worst fears. There were dozens of messages, photos of him and other men in weird positions, and even plans for meetups. She felt a wave of nausea as her world came crashing down. When Brandon came home that night, Lisa confronted him. Her voice was a mix of anger and heartbreak as she demanded an explanation. At first, Brandon denied everything, but as Lisa showed him the messages, he broke down. Through tears, he admitted the truth. "I didn't mean for this to happen," Brandon said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I thought I could change. I thought marrying you would fix me." Lisa's heartbreak turned to rage. "Fix you? You lied to me, Brandon. You've made me a part of this lie." Unable to face her, Brandon left the house that night. Lisa packed a bag and went to her sister's home, seeking comfort and clarity. Over the next few days, she confided in her family and close friends, all of whom were shocked and heartbroken for her. Lisa decided she couldn't stay in the marriage. She reached out to a divorce attorney and began planning her next steps. The aftermath of Lisa's discovery set the stage for a tense and heartbreaking unraveling of their lives. While Lisa leaned on her support system, Brandon spiraled into a dark place. Friends noticed his growing withdrawal and erratic behavior. He stopped showing up to work, ignored calls from concerned loved ones, and spent his days in solitude, consumed by guilt and fear of exposure. Lisa, on the other hand, began to rebuild her life. She threw herself into her work, finding solace in the structure of her career. She started therapy to process her emotions and leaned on her sister for emotional support. Despite her pain, Lisa was determined to move forward. However, Brandon couldn't let go. His guilt over deceiving Lisa and the shame of his secret being exposed festered. He began obsessively monitoring Lisa's social media, seeing her posts about new listings and dinners with friends as proof that she was moving on without him. In his mind, Lisa's resilience became a symbol of his own failures. Brandon reached out to Lisa one late evening, his voice trembling as he begged her to meet him. He claimed he needed closure, a chance to explain himself one last time. Despite her better judgment, Lisa agreed. She wanted closure too, though she knew deep down that no explanation could erase the betrayal she felt. They decided to meet at a neutral location, a small coffee shop near the outskirts of the city. Lisa arrived first, her heart racing as she clutched her cup of tea. She had rehearsed what she would say, determined to remain calm and composed. But when Brandon walked in, looking disheveled and broken, her resolve wavered. "Lisa, I'm sorry for everything," Brandon began, his voice barely audible over the hum of the cafe. "I never wanted to hurt you." Lisa took a deep breath, her eyes fixed on his. "You didn't just hurt me, Brandon. You destroyed the life we built together. And for what? A lie?" Brandon looked down, unable to meet her gaze. "I thought I could be the man you deserved. I thought I could bury the part of me that—" He trailed off, his voice breaking. "You should have been honest with me from the start," Lisa said, her tone firm. "I might have understood, but you robbed me of that choice." Their conversation stretched on for hours, oscillating between anger, sadness, and moments of raw vulnerability. By the time they parted ways, Lisa felt emotionally drained but resolute. She knew she couldn't return to the life she once had with Brandon. He had not stopped. Worse, he could never stop. It's a part of him. He prefers men. While Lisa focused on rebuilding her life, Brandon's world continued to crumble. His nights were sleepless, haunted by memories of Lisa and the life he had lost. His guilt and shame morphed into resentment, a toxic brew that clouded his judgment. He began to isolate himself further, cutting ties with friends and family. His work performance plummeted, and he eventually quit his job, unable to face his colleagues. The once composed and disciplined Brandon was now a shadow of his former self, consumed by regret and a growing obsession with Lisa. Unable to cope with his emotions, Brandon began stalking Lisa. He would park outside her apartment for hours, watching as she came and went. He monitored her social media obsessively, looking for any signs that she was moving on. Each post, each smile, felt like a dagger to his heart. Lisa, unaware of Brandon's behavior, continued to focus on her healing. She started attending therapy regularly and joined a support group for women who had experienced betrayal. Through these avenues, she found strength and clarity. She began to see a future where she could thrive without Brandon. But Brandon couldn't let go. His obsession deepened, and his thoughts grew darker. He convinced himself that Lisa was to blame for his misery, that she had abandoned him when he needed her most. In his fractured mind, he believed the only way to end his pain was to ensure Lisa would never move on. On a cold December evening, Lisa returned home from a dinner with friends. She was in high spirits, laughing as she replayed the night's conversations in her mind. As she unlocked her apartment door, she noticed something odd. The lights inside were on. Lisa hesitated, her heart pounding. She was certain she had turned them off before leaving. Cautiously, she stepped inside, calling out, "Hello, is anyone there?" Brandon emerged from the shadows, his face pale and his eyes wild. "Lisa, we need to talk," he said, his voice low and shaky. Lisa froze, her mind racing. "Brandon, what are you doing here? How did you get in?" He held up a key, one she had forgotten to retrieve after their separation. "I needed to see you, to explain, to make you understand." "You need to leave," Lisa said firmly, trying to keep her voice steady. "You can't just break into my home." But Brandon didn't move. Instead, he began pacing, his words tumbling out in a chaotic stream. He spoke of his pain, his guilt, and his belief that they were meant to be together. Lisa tried to reason with him, but it was clear he wasn't in a rational state. As Brandon's emotions escalated, so did the tension in the room. Lisa reached for her phone, but Brandon lunged, grabbing it from her hand. "You're not calling anyone," he said, his voice tinged with desperation. Fear gripped Lisa as she realized the situation was spiraling out of control. She tried to calm him, to de-escalate the situation, but Brandon was beyond reason. In a fit of rage and despair, he grabbed a knife from the kitchen counter. "If I can't have you, no one will," he whispered, his voice chillingly calm. Lisa's screams echoed through the apartment as Brandon lunged toward her. The struggle was brief but brutal. By the time the neighbors heard the commotion and called the police, it was too late. Lisa lay lifeless on the floor, a victim of a love twisted by lies and obsession. Brandon was arrested at the scene, his hands stained with Lisa's blood. In the days that followed, the shocking news of Lisa's murder sent shockwaves through their community. Friends and family grappled with the loss, struggling to reconcile the image of the loving couple they thought they knew with the horrifying reality of what had transpired. The trial was swift. Brandon confessed to the crime, his demeanor one of utter defeat. He showed little emotion as the judge handed down a life sentence. In his confession, he spoke of his torment, his inability to reconcile his true self with the expectations placed upon him. But his words offered little solace to those who mourned Lisa. Lisa's family established a foundation in her honor, dedicated to supporting women in toxic relationships and raising awareness about the dangers of untreated mental health issues. Her legacy became one of resilience and hope, a stark contrast to the tragedy that ended her life. The story of Brandon and Lisa Marshall is a harrowing reminder of the consequences of living a life built on secrets and shame. It is a tale of love turned toxic, of unaddressed pain leading to unimaginable tragedy. As Lisa's friends and family continue to honor her memory, they hope her story serves as a cautionary tale, urging others to seek help before it's too late. Thank you so much for watching today's story on True Crime Memories. If you enjoyed this story and want more gripping true crime content, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with others who love diving into compelling cases like this. What are your thoughts on Brandon's actions? Do you think the situation could have ended differently? Let us know what you think in the comments section below. We'd love to hear your perspective. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next story. Stay safe out there.